Hello everyone and welcome back for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets and drama. Today I'm going to be talking about 4 shocking controversies surrounding RuPaul, including his children's book being banned in a library and did RuPaul let a man drown in a river? All that and more coming up in today's video, so let's get started. RuPaul's library ban. So as you know, RuPaul has built up quite an empire over the years, and this includes TV shows, music and books. And although it might not be surprising, but being an African American gay man and drag queen in the media doesn't come without some controversy. According to a recent article by NBC Connecticut, RuPaul experienced some controversy when his children's book called Who is RuPaul was taken off the shelf at a library in Colchester, Connecticut after a parent complained about the contents of the book. The book is part of a series of children's books that looks at famous people and explains their life stories and is a popular series for 4th, 5th and 6th graders. According to one of the library workers, quote, "A parent approached me on Friday of last week about a book in the children's section of our library that has some potentially sexually suggestive imagery. This is the page in question from the book. It's a reference to RuPaul's Viva Glam ad campaign for MAC Cosmetics in the 90s. Apparently, after the parent complained about the image, the library worker contacted the library director to request the book be removed. The director said they do have a policy for this type of thing, but according to a different article by the Daily Beast, the director was not happy about how the library worker had handled the situation and said that it was, quote, the exact definition of censorship. The book was originally in the children's book section of the library as part of a pride display. The library worker further explained that, quote, this has nothing to do with censorship or banning books. This is really asking the question, are certain books in our library in the age-appropriate area for our children, question mark. The issue polarised opinion in the local area. Some parents in the area defended the book and said that the image of RuPaul is no different to images of superheroes, such as Wonder Woman, or performers at the Super Bowl halftime show. And they also criticised the library for being too, quote, heavy-handed in their approach to the complaint. However, other parents agreed that they had concerns about whether the book is child-appropriate or not. The library worker posted about it on Facebook, receiving over 200 comments, with some parents calling the book, quote, trash and pornography. But other parents condemned the decision to remove the book from the children's section. The book is still available behind the desk of the library, and you can also find the book in many other libraries in the state. The parent in question apparently does intend on making an official complaint, but an official decision on the book has not yet been made. RuPaul's views on trans contestants. Please make sure you hit subscribe and ring the bell to be notified for my future videos. I've briefly spoken about this in some of my previous videos, but RuPaul has been heavily criticised for his views on trans contestants competing on Drag Race in the past. In an interview with The Guardian in 2018, when asked about trans contestants competing on Drag Race, RuPaul said, quote, "Drag loses its sense of danger and its sense of irony once it's not men doing it, because at its core it's a social statement and a big FU to male-dominated culture. So for men to do it, it's really punk rock because it's a real rejection of masculinity." And then RuPaul was asked how a trans woman can be a drag queen, and he said, quote, "It's an interesting area. Peppermint didn't get breast implants until after she left our show. She was identifying as a woman, but she hadn't really transitioned." And when asked if he would accept a contestant who had transitioned on the show, RuPaul said, quote, "Probably not. You can identify as a woman and say you're transitioning, but it changes once you start changing your body. It takes on a different thing. It changes the whole concept of what we're doing. We've had some girls who have had some injections in the face and maybe a little bit in the butt here and there, but they haven't transitioned." These comments caused a lot of backlash from not only the fans and the community, but also some Drag Race contestants expressed disappointment in RuPaul's comments. For example, Peppermint from season 9 tweeted with sad face emojis and one with a zipped up mouth emoji. RuPaul then seemed to double down on his comments and tweeted a few days later saying, quote, "You can take performance enhancing drugs and still be an athlete, just not in the Olympics." Other Drag Race contestants also criticised RuPaul, making the point that some contestants have had plastic surgery, which does give them an advantage in the competition, yet they were still allowed to compete. Season 4 contestant Willem commented on Instagram about this at the time, saying, quote, "We work with trans women every night side by side, and for them to be denied the opportunities because of someone's narrow-minded view on what they call drag is effed." Several hours later, RuPaul then seemed to backtrack on his statements and tweeted saying, quote, "I understand and regret the hurt I have caused. The trans community are heroes of our shared LGBTQ movement. You are my teachers." The show has now had several openly trans contestants, and season 14 has now become the season with the most amount of trans contestants. Fracking. One of the ongoing issues that RuPaul has faced but never spoken publicly about is fracking. For those of you who don't know, fracking is a form of capturing gas from rock beneath the earth that can then be used for energy. According to the BBC, quote, "Fracking involves drilling into the earth and directing high-pressure mixture of water, sand and chemicals at a rock layer in order to release the gas inside. The term fracking refers to how the rock is fractured apart by the high-pressure mixture." Fracking is highly controversial and has been criticised by many environmental groups because it's bad for the environment and it also risks poisoning the water supply by leaching chemicals into the soil which gets into the water. RuPaul became involved in the fracking scandal after an interview he did with NPR. In the interview, RuPaul was asked about his ranch in Wyoming, which he co-owns with his husband, and the ranch is 60,000 acres and spans across 2 states because it's so large. RuPaul went on to explain that it's, quote, "A modern ranch, 21st century, is really land management, and they lease the mineral rights to oil companies and you sell water to oil companies and then you lease the grazing rights to different ranchers." This then led people to comment online that RuPaul inadvertently admitting to allowing fracking on their land. This issue then went on to become a much talked about topic within the Drag Race community and has also been joked about by many people. In a live video once, Season 8's Bob the Drag Queen was talking to Season 9's Peppermint, and Peppermint asked Bob if he had read an article from Instinct magazine. Bob seemingly misunderstood which article Peppermint was referring to and said, quote, "Oh, the fracking?" Peppermint then smiled and said, quote, "No, not that," and made an X shape with her fingers, and Bob did the same while covering their mouths. The two of them burst into laughter and swayed side to side, which almost seemed choreographed. The moment went viral on 9, not because of the fracking, but because of the swaying from side to side, as well as the mix of laughter and screams. Tammy Brown from Season 1 also mentioned the fracking scandal during an interview with Joseph Shepherd. Tammy, who is a vocal environmental activist, was asked about whether she would return for another All-Stars, and Tammy said, quote, "If I won the crown, I'd say I refuse the crown because of the fracking, RuPaul." Bob the Drag Queen and Monet Exchange also talked about this fracking controversy on their podcast Sibling Rivalry. On the podcast, Bob said that the ranch actually belonged to RuPaul's husband before RuPaul even knew him. And Bob also went on to say that not all fracking poisons the water sources. There's actually a really interesting video on YouTube by the channel Top RPDR Videos called Bob and Monet's Misleading Statements on RuPaul's Fracking Controversy. In the video, the narrator of the channel goes through Bob and Monet's statements about fracking and says that there is a lot of misinformation and gives further explanations about it. If you want to check the video out, I'll put a link in the description. However, just to make it clear, I'm not substantiating any of the information in these videos. You'll have to watch them and form your own opinions on that. Did RuPaul let a man drown? So this is a bit of an unusual story. In an article from 2015 with BuzzFeed, RuPaul was asked about his childhood and his career, and RuPaul seemingly went off on a bit of a tangent and told an unusual anecdote. RuPaul started off by explaining that he had been living in New York and said that gay clubs were starting to die out, but no one seemed to actually be doing anything to stop it. He then told an unusual anecdote where he said, quote, "I remember once I had this place that overlooked the Hudson River and I saw this guy on a sailboat and it had capsized and I went to the phone thinking I've got to call someone. But then I thought, what's the best thing I can do? You know what? I'm going to pray for this person, I'm going to send them loving energy. RuPaul didn't elaborate on the anecdote and also didn't confirm if the person survived or not. This then led many people to wonder what RuPaul meant by this anecdote, but many people took from it that RuPaul may have let a man drown in a river by not phoning the authorities. It's been suggested by people online that RuPaul was actually joking and was passing comment on people who say that they will pray for change but don't actually do anything. From what I can see, RuPaul has never publicly commented on this subject again or clarified what he meant, so it's not possible to say whether he was joking or not. That's up to interpretation. So there you go, there were 4 controversies surrounding RuPaul that you may not have known about. Did you know about any of these already? And what did you think about them? Let me know in the comments. As usual, please make sure you like, comment and subscribe to this channel if you liked this video. Currently less than 7% of people watching are actually subscribed to my channel, which makes me so sad, so please just subscribe to my channel and ring the bell to get notified for my future videos. Thank you for watching and I hope you'll join me again in the future. Thank you, bye!